TSO Daily. I am your host, Mystic Raven. So, this episode is just basically like a vlog, a video blog. And it's kind of funny because I typically don't like to do anything that doesn't pertain at least somewhat to what's going on in the game. But I think it's kind of important that, I kind of touch up on this because, the fan base is growing slowly but surely. I'm very appreciative to all my subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Even for the people who don't subscribe and at least get something useful out of the channel, that is what keeps me going. Even if it's a very few, even if it's one person, that kind of gives me, reasons for doing this. So I'm going to kind of touch up why I became a YouTuber, right? So I have been MMOing since 1996, and it all started with Ultima Online, right? So Ultima Online was the very first MMO. And a lot of people think EverQuest was. EverQuest did, release shortly after UO, and actually I didn't even jump into UO when it was released. But that was the first one I was exposed to, and then of course I played EverQuest, and I kept going to different MMOs, and I played a lot of different MMOs, whether it be class-based, whether it be sandbox, and Twitch system, turn-based, a lot of different MMOs throughout the years. And of course, as a kid, I was, exposed to Dungeons and Dragons. So fantasy MMOs kind of always pulled me in that direction. Of course, I've also played other MMOs like City of Heroes and City of Villains. And also, I really found that interesting as well. So I've been MMOing for over 20 years now. So for me personally, I have a lot of experience because I've played a lot of different games. So, and I've always played like up to end game. I was pretty hardcore elitist. If you guys think I'm arrogant, and which I'm not debating, I'm not saying I'm not arrogant or I'm not narcissistic. I'm not debating that. I kind of do see that I am arrogant most of the time. So those are personal flaws. But and I've never wanted to be a YouTuber. Okay, so out of all the games I've ever played, I never wanted to be a YouTuber, right? I've always kind of kept myself and my guild and all of our content pretty much hush-hush because we were elitist. We were like, on certain games we were firsts, right? And on other games, I was like maybe second, third, but we were always up there. And for me personally, I always enjoyed keeping that, between me and my guild. Being elitist was kind of like, yeah, we did it. We accomplished it. Now, throughout the years, I kind of got rid of that attitude because it didn't really pay, to have that type of attitude towards other players, just because, they didn't really know the game. I felt like you should be trying to help other players. So, I would take certain players under my wings who had potential, and we would go grow, and we would learn as much as we can, not just from one aspect, but as much as we could from each other. Now, I'm the type of person, because I'm an elitist, I have to know all the functionalities of every class and every mechanic. So I like to test a lot. I like to dive into it. And for me, when Elder Scrolls, and I'll probably link later on a forum post that we were talking about in Rift years ago, before Elder Scrolls was even released, we were talking about the potential that Elder Scrolls was going to bring that no other MMO was going to provide. And that was a sandbox type platform with the Siege engine, like back in Dark Age of Camelot. Because as much as Battlegrounds was coming out, and it's really good shit because it gives competitive PvP, it doesn't have the impact that the Siege engine has, like in Cyrodiil. So a lot of hardcore PvPers want variety when it comes to PvP. Now, it is true that Elder Scrolls went class-based, so they went a little more theme park with this release versus a lot of their other content in the past, because it's an MMO. They definitely wanted, I believe, and from my perspective, wanted to capitalize from what players already had a familiarity with from an MMO's perspective. But they still incorporated the sandbox elements in each class with each gear and each build process. And that's one thing we jumped for, a lot of players. Now, I didn't go to ESO at launch because we already heard about all the negative aspects that the game was having. So I jumped in a little over a year ago. It was a year and a week, literally, from yesterday that I've been playing Elder Scrolls. And when I was playing with players, I like to learn things on my own. I don't YouTube anything. I don't, cookie cut nothing. But a lot of people were referring to Deltia, and I'm not going to sit here and have a bash day on Deltia, right? It's not what that's about. And I think Deltia is a good gamer. He provides good information to players, right? But he generalizes everything, and he, doesn't explore all the options that what Elder Scrolls really embraces. And that's like every class can play every role efficiently. That is, the premise of what Elder Scrolls is about. And when I kept reading and watching his videos and him generalizing everything and not taking into consideration the passives, like everybody's going Twiceborn Star with the Thief in the Shadow, I was pretty appalled by that, because not everybody's going to get the same effects, because their passives, their innate passives, make that impossible, right? It makes it literally impossible. Nobody's going to get the same effect from the class. That's just a fact. So you have to take that in consideration while you're building. Not to say that Twiceborn Star is bad. I'm just saying certain classes will benefit from it than others, and certain other setups will benefit certain classes than others. That's the way this game is designed. So you have to take that into consideration as you're going through your build or what you're trying to accomplish. And for me, that's what made me set up initially as a YouTuber. Now, I started off with something simple like surveys, other little things, but then when it came down to it, and I would see Magicka players roll and sharpen, and they would have well over 18,000 penetration, and not taking into consideration that they already had that in their passives. And Deltia is like, oh, everybody, should be rolling sharpen. I was pretty appalled by that. It made me sick to my stomach that, they weren't really taking a look at all the testing and how much penetration you should be rolling with, when you should be, putting more spell power, how much magicka, how much stamina. A lot of these things became relevant. And that's what made me just keep going at it. When I first started and I switched over this character to a healer, I was told Nightblades can't heal. I was told it. All right, I was told. All of a sudden, I'm healing. I'm doing now vet dungeons. I'm doing normal dungeons. I'm now doing vet dungeons. I'm doing, even with the upgrade when they switch over DSA, I was doing vet DSA. All on a Nightblade healer, I was proving the critics wrong. Like, yes, you can. Now, was I the first? No. A lot of players have been posting videos since the get with, sorcerer healers, dragon knight healers, but a lot of people turn their heads for it because they become accustomed. They become too, they embrace only one aspect of gameplay. And to me, that's not what this game's about. So I really wanted to go out and I really wanted to show viability. So all of a sudden I'm showing people I can do vets on all these healers. I can do trials. And I get arguments left and right. Well, they can't heal. Oh, yeah, they can heal. They just can't heal trials. Oh, well, they can heal trials. They just can't heal vet trials. It's like, where does the argument stop? When do you guys want to shut the fuck up and just watch? That becomes the question. This is Elder Scrolls. I had a person post, ESO professor. I'll give you a shout out, ESO professor. He's like, embrace ESO. Dude, like I haven't, since the beginning. I'm one of these YouTubers who are going against the grain, who is, posting all of these videos showing the capability of all these different roles. So I'm not one of these cookie cutters. I'm literally doing everything that most people aren't doing. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to do builds that everybody else is doing and try to emulate what other people are doing. That's not what this channel's about. This channel is literally about, showing other players viability in all the roles that you can do, all the roles you can do with each class. So that's, why this channel exists. Now, will there be familiar, builds comparable to other YouTubers? There can be. I try not to do that. I don't watch a lot of YouTubers. There are a few ones I'll watch just to see what, it is and, what they're doing, but I don't want to emulate that. I don't want to do what other people are doing to try to up my subscriber base. That's not my intention. So, and I'm going to say this to all my haters. I don't care if you dislike my videos. I don't care. For me, this doesn't mean anything. It's irrelevant. At that point, I can have 1,000 dislikes. Is that going to stop me or discourage me from providing content? Absolutely not. Guys, the only way I'm probably going to literally stop doing what I do is if we take the known players that have fucked up for the last fucking 2 years who don't know about diminishing returns. You can fucking go to all these assholes that has been posting. They didn't take into consideration diminishing returns. They didn't take into consideration all the other roles each class can play. They didn't take into consideration, and these are the ones with 50,000, 100,000 subscribers. They didn't take any of that into consideration. But you know who has? The smaller YouTubers. Like there's a YouTuber I'm subscribed to, Exito. This dude has his shit legit. His shit is completely legit. Goes through diminishing returns, go through his build, his rotation options, his builders, his buffs. Takes into consideration any debuffs. I have an appreciation for this YouTuber specifically because he's providing good information to his player base, to people who watch him. That to me is relevant, not people who are saying, hey, you know what, no matter what you're running, run Twiceborn Star, or, oh yeah, you all should be doing this. Well, no, you should do what you want to do. But if you can find any useful information from any YouTuber, I think that's beneficial. But at the end of the day, it's your playstyle, it's your character, it's your build. You shouldn't want to be like everybody else. This game is not that. It's not like that. It's just not. And that's one thing I love about Elder Scrolls Online. Other than any other game, Rift. I loved Rift up to the point. Problem of it was a balancing issue. A lot of people are like, well, we have that in Elder Scrolls. No, not even in comparison. A lot of the other games I've played, balance issues were really bad. And especially with World of Warcraft, and we can go with the arena subject. That's so controversial, but it's relevant. When they started putting arenas in and making PvP more hardcore, people would complain about the balance issues. Well, of course it's a balance issue. It's a fucking class-based game. There is no such thing as true balance. But this game, the devs have kept really close margins on each class. I mean, really close. And depending on what you pick up for your gear, that defines your build, all of that is relative shit. Like, it's pretty up there. Like, people are always like, oh, Nightblades are on the lowest totem pole. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are smoking. I'll hit between 43, 45 meteor with one buff. You give me all three procs, I'm hitting around 50, 52k, depending on innate passives and mob resistance. So I don't know what the fuck they're smoking. Like, Nightblades are on low totem pole for DPS. I play every friggin' DPS role. And I'm telling you, Nightblades are very competitive. So people are just smoking. They want to complain about something. They want to find something to complain about. To all my haters out there, keep disliking. I don't care. I don't care, guys. You can dislike me all you want. You can hate me all you want. The question of it is, when can you start debating? And if you're going to debate, provide the information, man. I'm never going to argue about that. I have more appreciation for people, at least, who have a valid argument than people who are just defensive and just want to say, oh, no, that sucks. Okay. Why? Why? That's the only thing I'm going to ask. Okay. It sucks. Why? Does it suck because you're not rolling it? Does it suck because I should be rolling this build? Why does it suck? You tell me. Be a little bit more specific. If you want to hate just to hate, feel free. Everything has trolls in the internet. Since the internet's conception, we've had trolls. I don't mind trolls. It's fine. You know, it's not my first rodeo, guys. So if for all you haters out there, keep hating. I don't give a shit. So, and like I said, I'm not going to stop doing this until some of the bigger names who are supposed to be these fucking experts start doing their shit right and stop providing people with bullshit. You know, like Best in Slot. This is Elder Scrolls, motherfuckers. This is not fucking Rift. This is not friggin' World of Warcraft. There's no linear-based system that gives Best in Slot. If I was doing Rift or World of Warcraft Trials, I would have to go ahead and do one raid to progress to the next raid. That's linear. That becomes Best in Slot. This game is so not designed like that. It's not even close to being designed like that. So to me, there's no such thing. Now, there are certain sets and certain builds and certain racials that will give out better numbers. This is true. I'm not going to argue that. But to say it's Best in Slot, no, because what I might put on my Stam Sword Khajiit is not what I'm going to put on a Red Guard Stam, because Red Guards don't have, you know, the same innate passives. So once again, that all becomes relevant. That's all reflective. So once again, guys, you know, I'm just going to say it, you know, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to discourage people from trying to turn them away. I'm just coming out. I'm being honest. You know, I'm not perfect. Not saying I am, but I do a lot of the game's content. I don't have a problem doing any of it. Most people will pick me up and we run things fine. So once again, it is what it is. If you guys want to hate me, hate me. If you guys want to know why this channel was created, it was created because there were too many people saying no. That's not plausible. That's not, you can't do that. No. I hate to say it. My new slogan is embrace the possibilities. With Elder Scrolls Online, embrace the possibilities, because the devs do make it possible, and I prove that every day. I'm happy about that. That's what keeps me going, and I do appreciate all those who watch, all those who subscribe. I even hate you haters, because every time you click dislike and every time you hate it, you know, my views go up. So keep hating me. You guys are only fueling the fire. So keep it going, guys. Keep it coming. I do want to thank you all for watching. And once again and always, regardless if you like me or hate me, I do hope you have a nice day.